Hi, this is Stacia, and I'm going to show you my round one game that I played in the World Open Women's Championship this year. So my first opponent was lower rated and probably a kid. so, but let's have a look at it. Actually, it wasn't so easy. My opponent started with e4. I played e5, knight f3, knight c6, and she went with the 3 knights. So, okay, that's a normal move that a kid would make, I think. And I play knight f6. So already I was a little uncomfortable though, just because I don't know the 4 knights. So I was pretty much out of book already. And d4 was played. Okay, so this is the Scotch variation. I took the pawn, she took back with the knight. And here I really didn't know what to do. So I had my first little think of the game. And I landed on the move bishop e7. Now, in hindsight, I think this move shouldn't be played really. Better would be bishop b5, which turns out to be the main line. And one of the things about this move is, yes, it pins the knight, so we're threatening to double pawns, but I like the fact that white couldn't play bishop d2 because we can take. So it's kind of annoying, and I do believe in the main line of this, white has nothing better than to take, and we can take with the b pawn because we're threatening to take this. So white has to play this, which maybe isn't so desirable. So anyway, I think that's how the game should have gone, and how I would play it in the future. But I played bishop e7, just playing conservatively and realizing that my bishop on e7 might be useful in recapturing my queen in the event of knight takes knight, pawn takes, queen check. All right, so she did take, and I did take back this way. And she decided to go into this ending. So queen takes queen. And this was kind of a hard decision. Do I take back with the bishop or do I take back with the king? Now the computer says taking with the king is slightly better. But I think that's more awkward. So I took with the bishop to maintain my castling rights. And, well, I think the computer likes king takes better because white could play this move now. Bishop f4 I think is pretty, it's a very annoying move, just eyeing this pawn. So this c pawn is blocked and weak, and my bishop does not want to be stuck here guarding this. So I think that was definitely the way my opponent should have played. That looks very, it's hard to untangle from this, very hard. I would have to do this and play rook c8, and I don't think I want to play rook c8, so. Okay, but my opponent played here. So I developed my bishop, she castled. I developed my other bishop again. And now note that bishop f4 isn't really good anymore because now I can simply castle queenside and guard the pawn, and I think probably black's already equal here. Yeah, and I'll check with the engine. Yeah, just because I don't really have any problems anymore. My pieces are developed. I have double pawns, but they're really not so bad. I've got this nice open file, so okay. But my opponent played a more interesting move here. She played bishop to e3. So I want to castle now, and I really want to castle queenside because then my rook would come to the open file. But if I castle queenside, she could play bishop takes a7 and try to grab a pawn. So these lines get really interesting. So I would like you, well, if you'd like to, pause your video and decide, can white get away with bishop takes a7? Go ahead and do so now. Okay, so in the game, I played castles queenside and I said go for it. Take my pawn if you want. And I was planning b6, which actually it would be a horrible move. So she could have taken this. And if I tried b6, there's actually bishop a6 check. And these bishops are very strong. I have to move my king and the rook's gonna check me. And I can't even go here because of e5. But here's what's funny. The computer actually says I can go here and she can go e5 because I have rook a8 skewering the bishops. So this gets really wild. I'll just show the rest of it. Like here the computer wants to go bishop takes b6, rook takes a6, and then save this bishop. Yeah, this line's crazy. At the end of all this though, yeah, I can't really move this because there's discoveries. So it says bishop takes c5. Wow. Well, the bishop is pinned. Knight d5. Okay, this is insanity. I probably am going to cover all of these variations in a separate video because I'm doing these things called chess chomps, so you could see a full analysis of these types of ideas in my chess chomp video. But suffice to say that my b6 idea wasn't going to work. But on the other hand, it's kind of good that she didn't play this for her, because I can play rook takes bishop, and after pawn takes, now b6 works. There's no bishop a6 check anymore. Yeah, and I think another idea to rescue the bishop is to get this in, but it's too slow here. Yeah, it's too late. I would just take the bishop. So white would have to go here, and yeah, and here black is up material. It's a little scary for black, but this rook's ready to come into action right away. The bishops are awesome. Computer says black is better, minus 1.5. Okay. So I thought that was interesting, but she did not elect to take the pawn, which is actually correct. And a4 was played. And now I went bishop b8 just to stop bishop takes pawn. She went rook f to b1. And at this point I was like, wow, is she going to like pawn storm me and attack my king? It doesn't feel like the best plan to me, but it is sort of testing though, because she could play for a b5 break, and there's a lot of guys on this pawn break. So I actually think there's some merit to this idea of hers. Okay, but I went knight g4. So I really like knight g4, attacking the bishop. So I'm threatening to double pawns and win the bishop pair. And I did calculate this move, and here I thought g5, supported by the bishop. She went bishop to g3, and here I was actually planning h5, but I chickened out. So if you've seen my recent Bobby Fischer videos, in one of those games I learned about a cool idea that involves something like this: h5, and if this move, I could play here, h4. I saw this idea during the game, but I still didn't calculate it right, unfortunately, because I think this is actually strong. After bishop h2, which is kind of where I stopped my calculation, I could take this knight and then play bishop d6 check, and this is a nice position for me, I think. Really nice position. Because the other thing is, if white takes the knight instead, this is also a very nice position for me. So now I think maybe the black attack down the H file is going to be faster than the white attack. Also, if white takes this, they have triple pawns. I call that the rowboat. All right, so I'm actually disappointed I didn't play H5 there. And the computer says black is much better in these lines. Okay, but instead of H5, I played sort of a bailout move. I just offered to trade. Takes, takes. This does undouble my pawns, so it's kind of hard to argue with that. And B4, so she is playing for this B5 pawn break. I was a little nervous about that, but I pivoted my knight in the center, attacking the other bishop. She moved it. And here, I like my move. It's not the computer's first choice, but I followed a principle where if you're getting attacked on the wing, counter in the center, D5. And I think this assures me at least equality, because I'm going to get play in the center, and because I'm causing ruckus in the center, she's not going to have time to complete this attack against my king. Okay. So she took the pawn. I played bishop takes. Takes, takes. Okay. So now I'm ready to double my rooks down the D file. Also, this looks like an annoying move. That would fork the bishop and the pawn. And she'd have to go here, but I would take it. So she had to retreat her rook back. So, okay. So I doubled, of course. What else is there? B5. And I did calculate this, and I thought this is okay. Her rook is open on the A file now. I played this cute move. Unfortunately, it's not that cute. So Grandmaster Ben Feingold calls this a collinear move. But unfortunately, it's not good here. I kind of failed to see that I'm not really threatening this stuff. If I was, I think it'd be really good. But, you know, like, let's just make it black's turn. If I do this, that doesn't work. So the rook's actually pinned, which is kind of funny. Okay, but she went bishop here, and this is what I was hoping she would play, because I assessed that if I go into an ending now, I thought it was at least equal, but probably better for me. And so I'll show you. I played here, takes, takes, takes. Yeah, and now I have a 2 versus 1 majority over here, so I'm going to be able to create a pass pawn over here, and this should be better for black, and the computer agrees. Okay. Yeah, and king c7. So this is a move that I like, because I think it's natural to play here. But white actually has an annoying move here. They could play b6. This is what I was afraid of during the game. If I go here, then I can't get my king in the game. And it's going to be really hard to make a pass pawn. You know, this guy is surviving. And if I take, I have double pawns now. And this might not be so easy to win. So I actually thought after rook d5, that b6 move might hold a draw for her. So I went king c7. that stops the move b6. You guys agree? All right. So she checked me, which I don't think is good because I want to go king b6 anyway. And now I should take the pawn. I don't know. Yeah, she went there, and now I should take the pawn. I don't know why I failed to do that during the game. I think I just moved quickly. And I was like, oh man, I forgot to take the pawn. But it's okay in this position. Lucky for me. So I took now. But I did lose a tempo from that silliness. Took the other pawn. And now this ending should just be winning. I'm 2 pawns up, and if I can manage to trade rooks, it will be all over. King c6 to guard the entry squares for the white rook. And she's trying to make counterplay, but I don't see anything. My rook's guarding this, so there's really no trouble. Time to push my passed pawns. Notice the pawn's guarding the square. Yeah, and here I was starting to get low on time, and I was like, wow, how do I win this? I cannot go rook here because the rook would take the pawn. But I think if I can just push my b pawn, that should win. So I guarded the pawn. Yeah, and now I think I can just allow her to eat the pawns if she wants, because my plan is this. So if you count the tempos, I mean, my plan is going to work in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 moves, but probably just 6. And for her to make a pass pawn, she needs like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I went ahead with this pretty quickly. Yeah, and she took there, which kind of speeds it up a little bit. And then I go here, made a queen, decided to sack my rook because why not? And this is something I teach my students all the time. So hopefully I know how. Okay, so that was checkmate. So my round 1 game went fairly well, but I think there were some new ideas to learn, especially in regards to taking that a7 pawn. I'll go back to that real quick. Yeah, so I will very likely do a follow-up video on the lines that come out of bishop takes a7, because there were a lot of complicated computer ideas. So I think learning ideas like that can be very good for your chess as an improver. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed the game, and I'll be back with more. Thanks for watching. Bye.